Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Anna-Lee Matthews is my name, and I'm here on behalf of Active Management. It is my pleasure to host this webinar for the PT Council of New Zealand. Before we get started, I just want to catch you up on a couple of things in terms of Active Management news. If you haven't heard of it yet, the new Fitness Business podcast is live, and it's absolutely killing the charts, as they say. You can find show notes online every Friday at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. This month we interviewed Mish McCormack on becoming an award-winning PT, Darren Shaw we spoke to on igniting your online marketing, Mark Miller about leading the way in professional development, and of course our very own Justin Tams at JT. He discusses devices and data. So the Fitness Business Podcast is designed exactly as it sounds, to help fitness business owners and managers achieve more success. To subscribe to the podcast, it's free. That's the best price if you ask me. Simply head to the link on the screen there. It's the same web address I mentioned before. Or you can search for the Fitness Business Podcast on iTunes and subscribe that way. The only other thing I need to mention to you today is the Fitness Business Brunch is coming to New Zealand in September. That's not far away. JT will be presenting the 7 critical steps to have people buy a fitness program, something we all need to learn about. The dates and locations, as you can see, are on your screen. And for more information or to book your spot, you can head to that website there, fitnessbizbrunch.com.au. Now, if you would like to ask a question of our presenter today, to simply do so, you just type your question into the questions section of the GoToWebinar panel that's on your screen. So there's a section there called questions. Just click on the arrow to open it up, and you can type your question in there anytime you like, and I will verbally pass that over to our presenter, and he will verbally answer it for everyone to hear. So without further ado, let me hand you over to Jean Scott from the PT Council of New Zealand to officially introduce us to today's speaker. Over to you, Jean.
Thank you, Anna-Lee. A huge welcome to you, JP. For those of you that are unaware, JP is a master when it comes to posture and movement. JP specialises in getting people to move as effectively as possible, and his mantra is train or treat the human being, not the human body. JP will be presenting at FitX, and he will be doing outdoor connections. So I recommend you go to this session at 11:40 on the Saturday and play the games with JP. Thank you very much, JP, for doing this for the Personal Training Council of New Zealand. I hand over to you.
That's my pleasure, Jean. I just want to make sure with everyone that they can see a screen that says Adaptability Webinar. Anna-Lee, can you confirm?
Correct.
Great, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. It's so great to be sitting here in Perth, Western Australia in my home office, and I get to speak to the world. So thank you for joining me. Now, just so that you know a little bit more about me, a picture speaks 1,000 words, so here's 5,000 words for you straight away. What value for money you've got there. There's a couple of pictures here that will kind of explain kind of what I'm about. I work with people from severe limitation all the way through professional sport. I have a real passion for the power of play and what that can do for the whole body. I also lecture and present across Australia and New Zealand, mainly on very practical kinesthetic issues. So it's hilarious for me that I'm here with slides and my own voice when I love so much being visual and kinesthetic. So it's a real challenge for me. It's the first time I've done this. So bear with me. And the bottom right-hand picture there, that's me with my little family. So I've got a 2-year-old, and Henry, the little baby there, he's now 10 weeks. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Our concept for today, well, there's a saying attributed to Charles Darwin, no one's ever proved it. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. And that's my question for you today. Is your uniqueness adaptable? Can you bring adaptability to your client's uniqueness? That word unique is really important for me because really none of us fit the model. In fact, I will probably say a tiny few of us do, 1 to 2%, fit that kind of model of neutrality and physical, mental perfection, and that's whatever it means to you as well. So uniqueness, I mean, look at me. Here's me yesterday on the left. That picture there. Now, I hope you can see my little cursor here. Look at the state of this shoulder when you compare it to this shoulder. I can also tell you that this hip is an inch lower than this hip. I can tell you that this knee here points outwards, and that, as you can see, points straight ahead. I can also tell you that this one, this foot here, has surgery, and this one does not. This requires a whole load of compensation systems to work in the body. Now, sometimes compensation can be bad, sometimes it can be good. In fact, for our survival, it's fantastic that it's so good. But as you can see, there's lots of things that I can still do with my body. And yes, the top right-hand picture here is me on an adult-sized space hopper, so there. But let's have a look at, I've run 3 marathons with that, you know, messed up physique. It's because our bodies are adaptable, and we can make them more so. We just need to know the questions to ask and what to deliver to our bodies. So we're all about the adaptable human today. This is what I'm actually looking at: movement, tissue, posture, mind, and emotions. There are obviously lots of other elements to being adaptable, but this is what we're really kind of looking at today. It's very much an overview. So when I got to thinking, well, what is adaptable? And the images that really kind of show adaptability for me are right there in front of the screen. That looks right to me. It's people fully adapted into their environment. It feels right, and it gives me that right sense of, okay, what are these people about? There's different environments there, and they've adapted to it, and they're physically and mentally adapted in that way to what is around them. And then I thought, well, okay, modern day world is adaptable too, right? And I look at these images of adaptability, and it is adaptability, and I think to myself, well, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right, and it doesn't feel right. So where are we from there to there? What does it really mean? And then I look at the images like this. And when I was a kid, I'd be watching the news thinking to myself, I grew up in a place called Essex in the UK. It was a built-up area. And I looked at these kind of images on the TV, and I thought to myself, those people in indigenous clothing, look how out of place they are, from inverted commas. And I look at it now, and I think to myself, oh my God, those people in suits, how out of place do they look? So that's where I'm coming from really now is, all right, how can we tap in to this essence of really what we're authentically designed to do and to be? Moving into this area of tissues now. Again, there are many tissues of the body. What we're interested in today is the neuromyofascial web, muscle, connective tissue, and nerve tissue. And as you can see, it goes in lots of different directions. It has different kind of viscosity. So a few properties. Really, we want our tissues to be adaptable, to take on water, slide and glide, absorb and mitigate force, remodel, load and unload, be contractile and tensile, send and receive neural information, interact with our endocrine system, our hormones, communicate with our mind and emotions. Well, that one water there, can you see in the image here? These vacuoles through here, they're actually connective tissue. Can you see how each one, A, multidirectional, but B, look at the water in through there. Can you imagine now, if you are dehydrated, what happens here? There is a sense of collapse, but also that's all going to start sticking, isn't it? You're going to start feeling restriction. That's just from hydration. There are lots of other elements on the screen right now. I'm just going to mention contractile and tensile tissue because I'm doing a session called Contractile and Tensile in New Zealand that you may want to come to. So contractile tissue is more muscular in nature. It's about force generation. And tensile tissue is about mitigation of an elastic release of that force. So if you imagine doing a squat, and then you imagine bouncing up and down on your toes, the same tissues are at work there, but what a different result is happening. How do you train both those tissues? How do you train the tissue to be both those things more accurately? I always have this in every kind of presentation I do that vaguely relates to tissue because I think it deserves a little standing ovation at the end. I'm going to read it for you. It joins your thigh to your calf, your hand to your arm, your breastbone to your clavicle. As you move, it allows your muscles to glide past one another. It acts like a net suspending your organs and a high-tech adhesive, holding your cells in place while relaying messages between them. Connective tissue is one of the most integral components of the human machine. Indeed, one could draw a line between any 2 points of the body via a path of connective tissue. This network is so extensive and ubiquitous that if we were to lose every organ, muscle, bone, nerve, and blood vessel in our bodies, we would still maintain the same shape, our connective tissue body. That's what you occupy. Now, stand up and give yourself a round of applause right now, okay? The text that you really want to connect with all this stuff is The Anatomy of Trains by Thomas Myers. I flog this like nobody's business. For me, it is the progressive, modern future of how we will view anatomy over time. And as you can see, look, it means that tissue is joined together in chains or trains. So, for example, we look at the superficial back line here. It goes from the plantar fascia up through the Achilles tendon, calf complex, which physically joins the hamstring complex, which physically joins through the sacrotuberous ligament into these erectors, splenius capitis, and this scalp fascia over the head there, and it actually finishes at your eyebrows. So your toes and your eyebrows are joined in one continuous chain of tissue. That's how we need to think about it. If we want to be more adaptable, that's the type of tissue. And these are the understandings of the body that we really need. So can tissue be negatively affected? Well, of course. Posture, look at the state of me. I am putting it on a bit, I'll be honest with you, because obviously I'm absolute, Adonis of a human being the rest of the time. But here I am putting on some kyphotic posture. Can you imagine over time how that back chain of tissue will have to be lengthened and stay long and get fixed long because we're adaptable, right? We've adapted to the pressures and the outside stimuli that we've had that end up with us fixing in that position. We're adaptable, sure. Do we want all that adaptability? Lack of movement. I showed you those vacuoles full of fluid earlier, full of water, hydrated, beautiful. Imagine you sit on your bum and we've got layers and layers of this cling wrap filled with water, and we sit right on that and we stay on that. Can you imagine how the water just squeezes out and all those layers start sticking together? Well, mind and emotions is an interesting one. I'm going to get into that a bit later on. But definitely affect the tissues. And then you've got other elements like nutrition and bound hydration, poor recovery, genetics. The Institute of Motion have some really interesting stuff on sugar and vegetable oil and how sugar and vegetable oil, as in processed sugar, they actually do the most damage to our connective tissues of all the things that we consume. That was new information to me when I first heard that. That really makes sense, and it really kind of gets you into this mindset of, okay, I know sugar has these other kind of negatives of doing this, and this to my body, but hey, it breaks down my connective tissue. I want that stuff to be strong and robust and hold me and push me outwards and make me look, nice plump skin. Bound hydration, there is a link at the end of this session from Thomas Myers, and he talks about this stuff. Guess what? If we drink and don't move, hydration doesn't get into our tissues. If we drink and move, it does. Movement acts like a pump on our bodies and pushes the hydration into our tissues. So they're then plump, and then they slide and glide over each other. Everything's a lot happier. Poor recovery, it goes without saying that recovery, as in not just sleep, but looking after yourself, it makes sense, right? You've seen people who don't look after themselves and smoke and drink too much. You've seen how it ages them. And then genetics. Look at my 2-year-old's foot, for example. She has had a fallen arch on her left foot since she stood up. It's genetic. Her mum has the same thing. So that will therefore negatively affect the tissues elsewhere in her body. And we can mitigate that, but the fact is it's there. Leg length. My wife has one leg longer than the other, about an inch longer than the other, physically, as in skeletal. And that, again, will mean that there are tissue changes that lay down, they can be problematic. Cerebral palsy, that stiffens all the tissues. So I've worked with that too. So outside of genetics, we could summarize, that's repetition. Repetition is bad, but hey, guess what? Repetition might just be good too. So we can adapt tissues if we follow some really good practices in our environment. This is, I'm sorry for the quality of the image, but this is a client of mine. That was 10 minutes apart. The guy on the left entered, the guy on the right left. Can you see? It looks almost kind of painful, that left-hand picture. And look at that beautiful posture in the spine, how low his butt's got, how straight his arms are going, his thumbs are pointing to the sky. All we did there was fascial mobilization for 10 minutes. And it just opened up his hips enough to allow the rest of his body to move. So that was adaptability at its finest. The body was adapting to external stimulus that we were feeding. So look at that. We can, yes, repetition and stimulus can be bad, but look at that. That will not stay unless he repeats those actions. And he does. He's a cyclist. You can probably tell by that first picture. So can we affect tissue positively? Absolutely. So that mobility work, I follow, as many of you know, I follow the work of Ian O'Dwyer and Odeon movement. Fascial mobilizations are just insanely good. De-restricting areas of the body that you really need to. They also tell you lots of information about people's bodies too. There's a link to Odeon movement website at the end. There are 10 free video mobilizers on that website. All you have to do is enter your email address. Thoughtful training options now, you know, Odeon movement are in there as well. The Institute of Motion, again, there's a link at the end. PTA Global, myself, of course. It's about, okay, how do we intelligently program and intelligently move people? And it's an awful lot easier and more intuitive than you ever would realize. Playing games where appropriate for the right kind of people, that is a massive effect on the tissue because you are bringing out a relaxation in those tissues, which mean they will work better, they will take on hydration, and blood flow and lymph flow will improve. All of those things improve through that, and obviously manual therapy if you do that. The other thing really is you need to reach into their daily lives. If you have them for one hour a week, that's 167 hours you are not covering. How do we cover that? Give them guidance on what they can do with daily movement patterns. It might be some mobilizations or some, you know, a short piece of exercise or dynamic stretches, whatever it is that you know best. How do they change their work habits? How do you encourage them to get up every 25 minutes, walk around the office and have a drink, preferably water? What does recovery look like? You know, not just sleep, but we'll get onto that in a second, but there are lots of other things you can do for that. Give them some hydration guidelines. Give them some nutritional information or refer them to someone. And find out some strategies for positivity because, you know, if we have 50,000 thoughts a day and 40,000 are negative, that's the estimations, then, hey, we need more of that to go positive than negative. There's a guy called Sean Acor who's done an amazing tech talk on this. And again, I've linked that at the end for you. That is 12 minutes well spent, and I've spent that 12 minutes probably 20 times. It's a stunning video, and it's damn funny too. I mean, for the first 5 minutes, you think it's a stand-up meeting. So in other words, what are we looking at here? Hey, it's repetition again. That word repetition. Let's move into posture now. So I realize I'm going fast. I'm unapologetic about that. I wanted to throw as much at you as I possibly could. Here we are in New Zealand last year at Fitex. There's me shouting at the front there. There's us all doing a swagger clap. Now, those of you who joined in, that will make sense, by the way. Those of you who didn't, why did I say it like that? Who knows? But look at the different postures in there. Everyone's doing the same thing. But look at the different postures that are adopted through that. Some are more upright, some are really leaning forward, some are a little bit arched in their spines. You know, everyone's doing it. We are all adaptable. No one's in pain there. You can probably tell that by the smiles. So is posture fixed and all the same? Well, that's a question I have for you. Is it affected by tissue movement, mind and emotions? Well, I think you're starting to get the idea that, yeah, maybe it just is. This is me attempting to do postures. So the first one on the left there's a classic lordotic spine. You know, these are common sites that you'll see. And then we've got a flat back in the middle. And then you've got that classic hex neck. If you want the information on this study that I'm showing you right now, again, I'll give you the link at the end. But look how much heavier the head gets, the more you look forward. So the idea really is, hey, hold your phone up a bit higher, look down with your eyes, not with your head. Because otherwise, can you see, again, you know, you get a 60-pound item that's hanging off this. These will turn into very stiff, non-viscoelastic materials that will be overlong forever. Can we affect posture negatively? Yes. There's some pictures to the right there, but geez, I mean, if you have someone walk into a session and they're unhappy, how's their posture? If they come into the same session and they've had a fantastic day and just had some really good information, how's their posture? It changes so much. That's just emotion. Movement obviously will affect posture, because if we're doing really intelligent, great movements, which we're going to move on to in a second, then that will really fantastically affect posture. Not necessarily what you look like. I mean, look at, that was my posture yesterday that we saw earlier. But over time, how adaptable is that posture? Adaptability, adaptability, adaptability. That's what we're here for. It doesn't matter how you start. How do you finish? How well does your body adopt new postures, both static but also functional posture when you're moving? It's insanely good that we can have people that look broken that can do amazing things with their bodies. And of course, posture can be affected by the tissue, both genetics as well as all the other things, because the tissue will change according to the stimulus that are going on all around. So then you've got nutrition, lack of bowel hydration, poor recovery, and genetics. Again, it's repetition. That's a big however, and a big however for a reason, because here's some real stories from my clinic. So we've got Brady here. Look at the left. He's on a power plate. He is pulling hard there. But look at that right shoulder. Look where his right shoulder sits. It's a bit like mine. Look where it is compared to the left shoulder. Here he is. He's representative of Australia. He's a professional golfer. He's on a Latin American tour. He spends a lot of time in America on the symmetry. And he is brilliant. He was the #1 amateur in the world before he turned professional. And I was lucky enough to get some time with him. That shoulder, he has adapted to the position of that shoulder across 12 years. Now, some people wanted him to change his biomechanics completely and start again. He was #1 in the world as an amateur. I just want to repeat that. And they wanted to change him. So my suggestion was, let's help him manage that so that it never becomes a problem in the future. Sure, it's not a problem now, but we need to make sure it doesn't become a problem in the future. So we gave him some strategies, both in terms of mobility, in terms of some freeing work you can do with a tennis ball, and movement that will help him manage that situation so it never becomes a problem. It isn't a problem anyway. But his body and his head and his emotions are adapted to that shoulder. Look at these ladies. They're all, well, the youngest one there will be late 50s. So they're between late 50s and early 70s. This is 6 weeks of twice a week mobility and strength work. Who says, oh, yeah, I suppose it's because of my age, just have to accept it? No, it's because we've been feeding our body with information that maybe we could feed it better information. But look at that range. It's just insanely, I'm very, very proud of these ladies. Here's another client. She works in an office by day, and her sport, her chosen sport, is pole dancing. You'll see here, there's a major, just here, she's got almost like a fold in her back. Lordosis doesn't explain it. But what she can do with her body, this was her in the state champs a few weeks ago. Unbelievable what she can do with her body. So she's a normal girl with, you know, severely lordotic spine. Does it mean it's not adaptable? Well, look at the picture on the right. You tell me. And here's another client. She's done 2 3.5-hour marathons. Again, same issues, but with lordosis through here. But up here, she's very flat. There is no kind of curve through here. That ordinarily, I would not stack that body into a running body, not running marathons. So what I would be looking to do there is I'd be looking for them to run shorter distances. The lady wants to run marathons. Okay, can we do that? Yes. It's because we can make her body more adaptable with good feeding the tissues, really good information, both in terms of her own daily routine as well as what she does in the gym, the right type of mobilizations, and the right kind of mindset. So what really does posture tell us? Well, the top one's really important. Assumptions can be dangerous. Do not assume that because the posture is a certain way that people can't do things. If they are being fed the right information, they can do a lot. And remember, it's one place to look for cues, not the only place. You know, everyone thinks that posture is it. I don't get that. You know, you look at someone's static posture. Sure, I've got some information about what might be, you know, tight, what might be long, what might be limited. But I tell you what, it doesn't tell me what that person is about. It's like judging a person's personality looking at their nostrils. It gives you some information, but not a lot. Maybe that was a poor analogy. I've just pictured that in my head. That was quite fun. Why the posture exists can be explained by a huge and mind-boggling list of possibilities. Ain't that the truth? It might be something that is repetition. It might be genetic. I tell you what, it might just be that 10 years ago, they went through a really stressful time in their life. And that stressful time in their life changed their posture. It locked down some areas through the gut and the viscera that's just locked them down and given them this kyphotic posture. It's nothing to do with them being tight through the pecs. It's to do with some emotional situations that they had a number of years ago that then caused a fixed pattern to be repeated. There are lots of ways we can help. And remember that posture doesn't always dictate adaptability and vice versa. Remember, when you are looking at posture, think to yourself, why are we looking here? Where can we help? And where should we help? What's your goal and what's your rationale? Where should we help? That's really important, because you look at posture and think, oh, we'll fix that up. That shoulder's a bit low. Let's look at that. Is the shoulder causing them any problems? You see what I'm saying? It's really important. We actually connect with this stuff, not just go, oh, look, I can be so much help to you because you got a bung shoulder and that hip's sitting low. And hey, before we start messing around in there, let's see. Let's look at the movement and decide, hey, do we really need to do this? So again, can we positively affect posture? Guess what? That's the same slide, right? And it's the same slide for a reason. You'll find that the things that negatively affect tissue posture and movement are the same things that you can actually do to bring them out, as in positive things that you can do out as well. So each time you'll see this slide, you'll think, oh God, he's back on with the same case again. Pictures speak 1,000 words. There's another 6,000 for you. I'll tell you what, I am throwing some seriously cool stuff at you today, aren't I? 6,000 words just right there. Oh God, I should just go home now. 5 of those images are from my own work, and then that one in the middle at the bottom is, I put that one in there because I realised, you know, a lot of you work in gyms, and for me, I really like that. I don't actually work from a traditional big box gym. It doesn't mean that I have no respect for them. It just means that it's not my environment. But hey, adapting to your environment is very important, isn't it? So look at that. There we are. I feel okay when I look at those images. It feels right. I like the angles of the body and the smiles on the face, and it looks more natural and innately human. So that's why I'm trying to put those up there. But there is your big take home from movement. Adaptability is found in variability. Variability of what? Well, this is a big slide. If you didn't pay attention to anything other than this today, this would be the thing that I would really go for. So variability, for you to have adaptability as a human form using movement, you need variability of vector, height, distance, direction in your movement bubble, the environment that you're using, the functional posture, the moving posture that you have, whether you're engaging contractile or tensile tissue, what type of stimulus you're using, what type of intensity and what type of load and force. Just for the EG and the intensity part there. Low intensity steady state and high intensity interval training, just a couple of ideas of how they would affect what these all are through here, hormone profile. You've got cortisol, human growth hormone, infant growth factor 1, testosterone, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Depending on how you use this, that's what happens through here. That's a big slide that you need to absorb. I'm not going to spend any more time on it because we still got lots to go on. The three major joint complexes of the body, the importance of mobility and adaptability. So the three major joints from this functional anatomy point of view are the foot and ankle, the hips, or this whole pelvic region, and the thoracic spine. Now, where do people get most problems? Well, in their knees, the low backs, and their neck and shoulders, the joints immediately above those three joints. We need to make sure we foster great mobility with stability in the feet, in the hips, and the thoracic spine for our movement to be very adaptable. And it needs to be multiplanar, sagittal, frontal, transverse. Whew. So, when coaching for adaptability, remember the three joints, the integration of the whole body, tissues, mind, and emotions, a multiplanar approach, and variability. Wow. What can it be negatively affected by? Well, you've seen this slide before. Goals and rationale. This is a challenge that I offer to you in any session, in any given day or week. Imagine being asked, why are you doing that exercise with that client in that way at this part of the session today? And I want you to be able to answer that question every time. That's a big challenge. This will tell you whether you're adaptable and whether you are making your clients more adaptable. I just leave that one hanging. I'm not even going to go into that and unpack that. We'll do that another time. There's some notes on training the neuromyofascial web. If you need these notes emailed to you, you can obviously contact me afterwards. But I won't go through those because they're all right there for you. Can you affect movement positively? Well, guess what? Look what I've just put up there. It's the same slide as before. Into mind and emotions. Now look at that. This was an awesome study. People had to rate how they're feeling as in an intensity of feeling. And the intensity was put in like oranges and reds, those hot colors, and then, kind of a lack of feeling is put in the cooler colors, and black is neutral. And I find that really fascinating. I want to be in happiness. Look at that. That looks wonderful. Love looks pretty damn good too, doesn't it? But isn't it interesting? You've still got those hot colors with pride and anxiety and anger. They're held in us, so they produce responses in us, physical responses. People were asked to tap into where do they feel. You can't tell me that with that as an image, and you look at that and you're thinking, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That is going to affect your tissue, your movement, and your posture in a very big way. So, as I said earlier, when someone arrives in a negative state of mind or is anxious, how is their posture? What might this mean for their tissue and movement? Will it limit them? Or are they going to have this relaxed activation that we're talking for? This is a term that I use, relaxed activation. I want people to come in and feel fairly relaxed and positive, because it would then leads to this feeling of relaxed activation. We are activating the tissues, and it's going to be far more, what would I say, it's more reactive and better in terms of range of motion, better in terms of rhythm and timing. What are their chances of injury due to lack of adaptability to the demands of training as a result coming in negative? Well, again, we've already touched upon this. And how do people function when they're happy? Is success more likely? So, I would just say to you now, if you wanted to imagine now the state of joy that you've been in at the most uplifting time of your life, how does that feel in your body? Get that in your head now, get that in your heart now. How does that feel in your body? It doesn't feel limiting, does it? It does not limit you. Whereas if I put you in a state of mind of, think of a time when you are most anxious, that's really limiting on your body, isn't it? That's not rocket science. That's intuition at its finest. and there is science coming through on this stuff now that really helps us relate to that. Key sources for this. For me, I love the TED Talks. So I've put 4 TED Talks at the end of this session from these people. Just to quickly summarize, Amy Cuddy is all about the power poses. You've probably heard about this, where adopting posture actually changes your hormonal profile so that you know, fake it till you make it. She says, fake it till you become it. It's a great one to look at. John Ratey wrote a book called Spark about how to introduce greater success into schools by introducing not more schoolwork, but exercise, daily exercise. Sean Akar, I've mentioned, positive psychology, insanely good. I would push you very hard towards that one. And then Kelly McGonigal, and our attitudes to stress is not stress, but actually causes us harm. Guess what? It's our attitude to stress. If we are highly stressed, and half of us are saying, oh my God, this is so bad for me, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, those people have a 40% decreased life chance when compared to the people that go, yeah, okay, I'm feeling that heightened sense of activation through me. That's going to make me sharper and more focused so that I can do the work better. It's a kind of a useful nervousness that will drive me forward. They have much better life chances than those people who interpret stress differently. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, they are very, very good to get into that whole area of mind and emotions. So that was, wow, that was an onslaught for the adaptable human. That's normally done in a day with a hell of a lot of kinesthetic stuff along the way. I'm very much a visual and kinesthetic guy, as I mentioned before. So the next step, those of you who are coming to FitX, well, I'm doing 3 sessions at FitX, contractile versus tensile, so you can find out about these tissues I've been talking about. I love doing that. That's a new area that most people are talking about at the moment. So that for me, that was inspired by something that I've done with the ODM movement. Desk posture, well, hey, you've seen it, you've experienced it yourself. What are good strategies for actually dealing with those people that have got what I call desk posture, this kyphotic, this just collapse in their body? Outdoor connection, well, I'm back outdoors again. I want to connect with you. Hey, mind and body and emotions. How do you do that? How do you do it well? How do you do it with your clients? And how do we have fun along the way? You can also connect with me through Facebook. I have a JP Active group page. You can email me to discuss any products, and indeed I do online mentoring as well as face-to-face. And then you need to connect with Anatomically Trained, ODM Movement, Institute of Motion, PGA Global for more education and avenues. I'm unsure as to what I'm going to be doing in New Zealand next year, so watch this space. Hopefully I'll have some more information by the FitX conference. All the references are on the last slide so that you can actually pick up on that. I can email you that if you wish this whole PDF to be sent to you. Otherwise, go to the group page on Facebook, and that's where you'll interact with me the most. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand back and see if there are any questions.
JP, thank you so much. That was an onslaught of information, but an excellent onslaught. And everybody has got your details there. So if they need to follow up or get anything clarified or just to tap into that wonderful brain of yours, then they know how to do that now. So as usual as well, Jean at the PT Council of New Zealand will have a link to this webinar, so anybody who registered to attend can actually rewatch it as well. So I know that we've run out of time for today. So any questions you guys have or that you think of later, don't hesitate to send them straight to JP. His email address is up there, and I will for now bid you all an excellent day. I know JP's got to run, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, John, for your information. And on behalf of the PT Council of New Zealand, I will end this webinar and wish you all a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for coming.
Bye.